oil spill has pretty much been one of the United States' most biggest natural disasters in the history of the U.S. There's several things that have caused this oil spill to become a cause of concern. One reason is it's killing our tourism industry, it's killing our economy, and it's also killing the wildlife that goes on, throughout the Gulf Coast. I mean, you have BP that is can't close off the valve, so it's just gushing out thousands and thousands of gallons of oil per day, and that's really starting to become a problem that I foresee that could take many, many years to clean up. One of the main reasons I'm going to be discussing is how this oil spill affects the wildlife in the Gulf. The main problem I see is that the ecosystem pretty much is going to be damaged or almost destroyed, if you ask me. I mean, fish, dolphins, any kind of like shrimp or krill, most of those are going to be killed off, and that's going to affect the fishing industry in a really, really big way. And if it affects the fishing industry, that pretty much affects every person that comes to Pensacola or lives in Pensacola for that matter. Another problem with that is when so many fish die off, that really disorganizes the food chain. If you have a contaminated fish or a dead fish, that causes the next predator up on the food chain to cause problems. They're eating, sharks are eating dead fish or contaminated fish, and that causes them to die. Whales are eating contaminated plankton and contaminated shrimp, and that causes some whales to even die, and it just really kills the food chain. It puts a really big gap in the food chain and kind of disorganizes everything and puts everything out of whack, which is a really big concern since there's a lot of endangered species that live in the Gulf. Another problem is the oil spill. Like I said, it's contaminating fish and other forms of wildlife in the ocean. It's also interfering with how animals breed. Fish that are contaminated with oil, they give birth to contaminated eggs. Those eggs hatch. Those babies die. Or birds come and pick up those contaminated eggs. They feed those eggs to their offspring, or they eat the eggs, and in both cases, either the bird dies or the bird's offspring dies, or both die, and that causes a big problem because, as you've seen on TV, there's dead fish and there's dead birds lying all around the Gulf because of this oil spill, and it's really starting to become a problem. Another major concern is Florida is home to many, many kinds of coral reefs, which are millions and millions of years old, and the oil spill is causing those to die off as well. And as you know, it takes, if I remember right, it takes hundreds of thousands of years just for a coral reef to be grown, and once one dies or breaks or any kind of thing like that, it's irreplaceable. So once a coral reef is dead, it's really not coming back, and a coral reef is pretty much essential to any kind of ecosystem that we have here in the Gulf, because all kinds of fish feed off of it, and it's pretty much a bare necessity to any kind of ecosystem that goes on in the Gulf Coast. As you can see, if fish die in the Gulf, that kills the fishing industry, and if the fishing industry dies, that's directly proportional to the tourism industry dying. And if that dies, then that means pretty much our whole economy is shot. So, it's kind of like, out of the three, one can't go without the other two. It pretty much, happens if one thing fails, the other two are going to fail too. So that's why this oil spill is such a big problem. And like I was saying, I really can't see this oil spill being fixed within the next 10 years. But hopefully, I think that if the valve is closed off sometime soon, they should be able to get this oil spill under control, and our economy and our ecosystem, and mainly our tourism business, should get back on track to the way it was before this accident happened. And I hope that's pretty much what I'm hoping for. And I'm guessing it'll take a couple years, but if everything goes good, we should be back on track. And I'm sure that's what everyone else is hoping for, and it'll happen soon. And that's pretty much it for what I have to say about the oil spill concern here. And that is my speech.